Good morning and welcome. My name is Raj Jalan. I'm the CTO for A10 Networks. And I think we did this in 2014. Some of you might have been here at that time. So briefly, what are the big trends? Is social networking, online media. These are the huge drivers for the industry. Cloud, SaaS, definitely the top drivers. And obviously big data and AI. Of course, we don't talk about AR, VR because that's something that we don't touch at all. And then you have this is the service side of things, and then you have the consumption side of things, which is the users, the hackers, the IoT devices, the mobility, and the huge trends that are happening in the industry with 5G and such. Of course, in the middle of it all is the big internet. And today, networking and connectivity is so ubiquitous that you take it for granted, right? You actually want to find some place where you don't have networking connectivity at times. So what we began with early on, as we started the company in 2004-05 timeframe, is availability services, namely ADC and load balancing. And we have been doing a pretty good job of it over a period of time. And then lately, we have started adding a whole range of security capabilities. So why availability and security really go together is I compare it with like clean water. Water is essential. It has to be clean. The security is the clean part of it. Otherwise, the water is not useful. The connectivity is not useful without the security. Security is privacy, security is assurance, making sure that nobody has access to what they should not have access to. So now, this availability and security solutions that we have been developing, obviously, there is a huge change happening. The landscape is changing very rapidly. Earlier and also now, we are providing solutions to enterprises and service providers primarily through appliances. But with the advent of the internet and cloud, what is really required is to provide a solution no matter where the services are, where the users are, and to provide the same user experience to the user, provide the secure connectivity, at the same time provide simplicity, agility, and the ability to control and get visibility to all of the operations to the service operator, the app operator, the IT team. So that is, to achieve that, really automation is becoming extremely important. Without automation, it will become increasingly hard to provision the devices, configure them, own and operate them, because the network itself is becoming very dynamic, dispersed, distributed. At the same time, you want full control and full visibility. So automation is very key. And another added element is intelligence. There is a great need for intelligence. What is intelligence is really the ability to mine data anonymously from a large number of customers and apply the value from that to really secure the operations. That's really the primary value of intelligence, is really security. And you obviously can get some amount of data from a particular customer, but that's not good enough if you have bad actors, malware, and bad files and content. To really understand what is what, you need to gather that information from a large number of customers and users. That's what intelligence is. So what we are building as our vision is really, this is our tagline, is intelligent automation of secure application services. So where did we start? We started in 2005 with ADC, which is one of the secure application services. So the bottom layer you see is our ACOS platform. These are the data plane devices that really do the policy enforcement, whether it be load balancing, carrier-grade NAT, SSLI, web application firewall, DDoS protection, and so on and so forth. These are the data plane devices, the policy enforcement. So that is the secure application services run on ACOS, our data plane platform. And then we have been working on a Galaxy first, and then last 2 years, what we call as the Harmony platform. The Harmony platform is the management and control platform. That is what enables us to provide visibility and control over this distributed ACOS data plane systems, and also in some cases, third-party solutions like Nginx-based LADC and others in the future. And then the intelligence is the final third platform. So the ACOS platform, Harmony platform, which is the management and automation platform, and the third is the intelligent platform, what we dub as AOS. That's I will not expand on that. Rich can probably touch on some of that, what that means, because his team is working on that, is really collecting intelligence and really enabling intelligent automation of secure application services by building these three platforms. So Paul touched a bit on this. It is important for me to talk about it as well. Here you have, A10's solution evolution. You have your services on the right-hand side and your consumers on the left-hand side. And in between, so originally we started with application delivery controller, which is a data center solution. And over a period of time, we have added a number of capabilities such as web application firewall, IPsec, site-to-site, data center firewall, and something what we call as integrated DDoS capability in the data center appliances. After that, we, in 2009, brought out the CGN carrier-grade solutions, which is IPv4, IPv6 preservation. That is represented by the second from the left. There's the service provider section. After that, we started shipping the DDoS mitigation solutions, initially 5 years ago with the mitigation, and then detection and management in the last few years. And our most recent solution is the access solution, which is the outbound, is the SSLI-enabled secure web gateway, application visibility and firewall, along with Office 365 and other solutions, which Yasir and team will be talking about. Most importantly, all of these things, the interesting thing, if you see historically, is that the data plane devices have been the anchor of the enterprise focus, right? That's where you start. And then you add management as an afterthought in the past, right? But as the whole operation gets highly distributed, you no longer know potentially where your data plane devices are, because if they are VMs and containers in the cloud, you can't actually even know where they. It's a lot of work to find out where things are at. So what's happening is the new paradigm that is emerging. Of course, when new comes, old doesn't go away. Old also remains, but the percentage of old will diminish, and the new will increase. In the new paradigm, your management solution becomes the anchor. The management solution becomes the anchor because that's the only thing that you have a relationship with as an operator on a day-to-day basis. And what happens is that management solution will then enable you to exert policy and intent and orchestrate everything in, whether it be data center or private cloud, public cloud, or edge sites, wherever your enforcement devices may be. Those will be spun up dynamically in some cases statically, and everything will be stitched together. So your focus now becomes the management plane. So this is the trend. Obviously, software-defined networking is a big term, which kind of talks about this overall paradigm shift that's happened. And what we are doing is the same thing. So for us, the secure application services, which are the different services that an application needs to provide a safe and secure experience to the users, right? In the past, all you need is layer 2, 3, right? Because my service is here and I just connect and boom, I go, right? There's nothing else required. But obviously, to provide security and number of different policy controls, high availability, load balancers came in, SSL offload came in, and so many devices came in. So these are what we call as secure application services. They're not the application. They're services that support the relationship between the user and the application. And really, if you think about it, if you picture this, that between any given application and its users, think of a chassis, right? Think of a sort of a virtual chassis which has a very secure internet-wide backplane, right, from the user to the application. And it could be SSL, IPsec, right? Those are the most common encryption technologies that are in use today. And then you plug in any number of one or more desired application services on top of this secure fabric. Now you have a very secure and robust means for the application to deliver its services to its user. And all the resulting telemetry, operational intelligence can be fed to the management solution, so the right people can then both manage and can consume the telemetry. So that's what we talk about, secure application services connected intelligently. So in this paradigm, what's happening is that the operator is really taking intent, what do I want, and combining it with policy, and through the means of intelligence automation, orchestrating that onto the distributed, secure, connected fabric. Because ultimately, in this day and age, you cannot imagine, it's still true that there are a lot of appliances being sold in fixed static locations, but increasingly, I see that in the next 5 years, that'll become a minority, and at least in the enterprise world. Service providers is a bit more fixed, but in the enterprise world, it'll become extremely dynamic, where truly the promise of SDN, right, will come true. And that's what we are delivering step by step. So basically, the intelligence automation is what we are talking about, because that's really key. So the question becomes is, what is intelligent automation? Some small examples are, one of the things that Rich will show is really how we combine the ADC, so what we call as intelligence detection in the edge. We do detection of the service degradation or a DDoS attack in the edge, which is the ADC or CGN, for example, and then we inject that into the A-Galaxy management orchestration system. And in the meantime, the ADC has already been learning and profiling, so it auto-discovers what the services are, and then tells the A-Galaxy, and that actually then in turn tells the TPS how to do the mitigation. So all this happens seamlessly. So that is really the value. Now, you don't have to configure almost anything here. All you say, hey, I want this thing. Here are the tools to make the job happen, and give me this. So the rest of the things. So this is an example of intelligence automation. Rich will demonstrate. So this just shows you, from the continuing on from the previous slide, that I'll just really, from here, essentially now the anchor point is the management station, and you can really spin up infrastructure on a dynamic fabric, infrastructure as a service fabric, and then consume the telemetry coming out of that, and then you can add DDoS protection if necessary, and then obviously forward proxies and access solutions as necessary. So our vision is to enable this sort of a dynamic infrastructure automatically, maximally. So it's not that there is zero configuration. Basically, what is configuration is the new configuration is the intent. What do you want to do, right? And that is synthesized by the management controller into the service chain, and then traffic gets stitched and steered through the appropriate elements. That's what we're building. And the Harmony controller, which we talked about, is the main element, the management and automation intelligence platform that enables the orchestration across data centers, private and public clouds, using various APIs and standard communication telemetry methods to provide configuration, orchestration, analytics, licensing. These are the core capabilities that are required for every service. And so some examples of application services are ADC, DDoS, SSLI, CGN. So you will see a snapshot, some demonstration of all of these capabilities today, ADC, DDoS, SSLI, CGN, and some use case apps like Office 365. Yasser and team will demonstrate that. So we are taking all of these application services and use cases and delivering them through the Harmony Controller platform. And this Harmony Controller platform has the same API to northbound API as the API that we use to manage the devices. So it's an aggregated API, but it's the same API. So that's the beautiful thing that we have done with our solution. Of course, on the Harmony Controller, you have additional APIs as well, but the device API and the management API, for the most part, is the same.
So I'm just curious, is this architecture, is this what you're deploying to your service provider clients?
Yes.
Okay.
So for the service provider clients, the capability is new. That's under development. We shipped this quarter, but there's already shipping for the ADC solution today.
Okay. Does this also allow for multi-tenancy for service providers to then resell those services downstream to their enterprise clients?
Yes.
As far as WAF, DDoS, things like that.
Yes.
If they build it as a multi-tenant solution.
Absolutely. So the Harmony Controller is architected as a hierarchical multi-tenant solution.
Okay.
So you have multiple providers, and each provider can have sub-providers and tenants. So that's something that you can probably demonstrate in the GUI as you do live, right?
Okay, great.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So with that, this would be my last slide. So really, we talked about the intelligent automation, and it obviously, to make it all happen, you need a lot of components. It's not sort of this magic wand, right? There's no hand waving. There's a lot of real stuff that you have to build. So there is these, enforcement devices, be it hardware or virtual containers, cloud instances, and so on and so forth. And the consumption methods, whether it's purchased or licensed or different methods of licensing, the element management, centralized management solutions, the ecosystem interactions with different vendors and providers ecosystem, and then also the intelligence gathered both from A10 hosted intelligence services, also third party like Webroot, ThreatStop, and others. So combining all of those things and enabling a easy to use, simple control with agility and security, obviously optimizing CapEx, OpEx, which are the prime considerations for the enterprise users and for the service providers. So that is the vision that we are delivering, intelligent automation for secure application services. Yes, it is SDN, but we are actually not talking about the network here. Network, to me, is incidental. The network needs to be there. But the real intent is I want to enable my users to connect to the apps that they care about in a safe and secure manner. And the network really, the job of the network is to deliver that. And hence the focus is not on the network. Network is something that is automatically created underneath to fulfill the objective. That's the vision that we're delivering on. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
With that said, I assume this works with basically any network hardware. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, in terms of, we actually operate layer 4 to 7. So network hardware-wise, switches and routers, any and all, V4 and V6.
Okay, and what about configuration? Physical configuration still required. So configuring the underlay.
Yeah.
Does your product configure the underlay, or is there another product needed for that?
Well, actually, a part of our vision, which is something that we are developing the IP for, is to take standard layer 2, 3. So one of the challenges in SDN networking is really the complexity of network stitching. That is really, from an end-to-end, if you take something here and something in Timbuktu to stitch it all up, the networking stitching is the problem. And for that, our theory is that rather than requiring underlay, overlay type paradigm, we're going to use standard layer 3 routing V4 and V6 and use different mechanisms to really create connectivity at higher layer. The means exist. except the mindset has been a bit different. A lot of this has been driven by core networking vendors. So it's really what you do, then you try to make things happen with what you do. But there is, application layer concepts that enable, for example, DNS, intelligent control through DNS. There are higher layer techniques or headers. So you combine those things, and then you can use standards. So therefore, the network has to be provisioned. But for the applications to operate, for example, if something has a web server and a client, most of the people don't know what is an IP address. It still works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But we still need configuration on the hardware itself.
So that's provisioning, right? Provisioning is something that's given to you, but the dynamics of it. For example, if you took an Uber, somebody has created this network of drivers and cars, right? You, the user, didn't do it, but you orchestrated it. So like, what is Uber doing? They're not actually, they're leveraging what's available. So we are going to leverage the available network infrastructure, and we use it on top, using DNS and other means.
Okay.